Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
How are you enjoying the con so far?
Loving it. Loving the con. I was just saying that I never see unhappy people at conventions, and this is no exception. And it's very, very, very busy.
Yeah.
Where, as you rightly say, everybody can be themselves, and that's a wonderful, rare thing these days.
Have you had any great fan experiences so far already?
Here?
Yeah, here.
I mean, to be honest with you, they're all great because people have taken the time and made the effort, and sometimes paid money to spend time with you.
Yeah.
And if it's an autograph or a photograph or an anecdote or something they want to share or something they want to ask you, it's a very sort of humbling experience, and one that I don't take lightly. Sometimes it takes people a lot of courage.
That's true.
To speak.
Yeah.
To somebody that they like or they've admired in something. And they bring with them, I think, when they encounter actors in these situations, they bring with them the characters and the stories that they know those actors from.
Yeah.
And that can sometimes be very, very intimidating.
Yeah.
Because I'm not my characters.
Of course.
But they live through me into the lives of the fans. So it's something I take very seriously.
I can imagine. But do you have any actors that inspire you in such a way, or that you are in awe of?
I have many that I admire. I mean, when I grew up, there was nothing like this. Nothing at all. I mean, the chance of encountering somebody that you liked on television and film were virtually nil. If I saw my teacher in town, outside of school, I was like,
what are they doing there?
It's Mrs. So-and-so. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, of course.
So the idea of, my favorites, two of my favorite shows growing up, which you probably won't know actually, were Starsky and Hutch, which was an American TV show. You know that one? Okay. Starsky and Hutch, and a show called The Persuaders, which had Roger Moore and Tony Curtis. They lived this incredibly glamorous life. They drove Ferraris. They were kind of playboys. Roger Moore had an Aston Martin. It was amazing. I was in love with Diana Rigg. And I mean, she's no longer with us now, but if I had met Diana Rigg, I don't care how old she was.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to speak.
No.
It was my first real crush. I was probably 9. I didn't even realize what I was experiencing. But every time I saw her, I was just like, oh my God, it's Emma Peel, it's Diana Rigg. I just loved her. But nowadays, I think my kind of fanboy thing is not there so much. I admire actors' performances. Gene Hackman, Sean Connery, Clint Eastwood. A lot of those people are people that I've greatly admired and grown up with. And if I met them, I mean, Sean Connery sadly is no longer with us, but to this day, if I met Clint Eastwood, I saw him in a car once.
Oh, wow.
We were pulled up next to each other. I was going one way and he was going the other way. And he was really stuck in traffic. And he was in a beautiful vintage car. And I was like, and I looked across him. Oh my God, it's Clint Eastwood. And he just looked so angry because he was stuck in traffic. He was like this. And I thought, probably not the moment to wind the window down and go, hey, love your work. But yeah, so sometimes it's better not to meet them.
That's true. They say never meet your heroes.
Well, yeah. I mean, definitely you don't want to meet some of your heroes because they turn out to be not heroes at all.
No, especially when they're stuck in traffic. Probably.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So when I looked at your IMDb page, and it took me like half an hour to scroll down, because you've done a lot of work, and you started when you at a very early age.
Well, I mean, I became a professional actor when I was 22. Yeah, 22. Yeah. So I've been doing it for just over 40 years. Yeah.
And what sparked your interest in acting?
Oh, just accident, really. I used to do plays, not plays, I used to do comic sketches with my best friend. We used to write them. And we didn't trust anybody else to perform them. So I would perform with him. And the teacher who who taught drama at my school, would ask me to be in school plays, and I would always say, no, I'm not interested. And I wasn't interested at all. I wanted to be a writer. I used to write books and stories and stuff. That's what I wanted to be. And one day he asked me to be in a school play. It was a play called The Rivals by Sheridan. It was a comedy, and somebody had fallen ill. They had to replace them. There were 3 days, and he asked me to do it. And to this day, I have no idea. Honestly, I think I fancied somebody in the cast. It must have been. There was some girl in the cast. I probably thought this might impress her, and I said yes, and I learned the lines. It was only one performance, but people laughed and they applauded, and I thought, yeah, this is okay. I quite like this. And then I left school, and I was at home with my mother, and the local amateur dramatic society posted a little leaflet through the door, and in those days they were all like typewritten, photocopied, and it was looking for young actors to join the local church hall amateur theatre company, and I looked at it, and I remember clear as day. I was in the kitchen, and I turned to my mother, and I said, "Do you think I should do this?" And she looked at me and she went, yes, I think you should. And so I went along, and then I just started, and I never stopped.
Oh, that's great.
Never stopped.
I saw that you've also done a lot of Shakespeare.
Yes.
Also Macbeth and stuff.
I've been in Macbeth 3 times.
Very brave, because it's cursed, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is. But it's one of my favorite Shakespeare plays. It's like his action movie. It's great. It's so fast, just clips along, and terrible things happen. The hero is, killed. Spoilers. Well, if you can call him a hero. But it's great. So I did that.
Do you feel like actors should play in Shakespeare plays to really learn acting?
I mean, it's not essential. I think all actors should do stage work. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
You learn a lot on stage. You learn to be quick.
Yeah.
And you learn because on stage, you feel the reaction of the audience. Whereas on film and television, you don't. I mean, the only audience you have in film and television are the very bored crew members who are scrolling on their phones but when you're in front of a live audience, you can detect the tiniest change in their feelings. Yeah. They're like a character in the room. And so it teaches you not to indulge yourself. The problem sometimes, I mean, I was asked this question actually this year. I've been doing Spartacus for Stars. It's a new season, new series. And I was working, there was a young actor, and he said to me, when you're in a scene and you're not speaking, but the other actor is speaking to you, what are you thinking in your head? What's going on in your head? And I looked at him and I said, well, I'm just listening to them. And he was like, oh, right. And I went, yeah, like I'm listening to you now. Yeah. And in that active listening, you're being real and in the moment. And sometimes the temptation for some actors, especially I would say actors that don't have much stage experience, is that they feel that pausing is very good. Like there's a lot of meaning, in pausing. And so you could speak to me and I would sit and I would go. If you did that on stage, the audience would be like, what's happening? What's happening? Why is it stopped? Yeah. And so you learn to keep the ball in the air, keep it in the air. It's like a great theatre game is if we all did it, everyone in this room, you get a ball and you pass it in the room. Yeah. And you have to keep it up as long as possible. And you have to make it difficult for people to get. You have to leap, you have to jump, and you have to do this and everything like that. And you count and see how many times you can do it. And you try and get to at least 100. Yeah. And if you get to 100, it means you're really aware of everybody else and what they're doing. Yeah. And it trains you to focus on other people rather than just yourself.
And is that something you've experienced, or is it?
Oh yeah, no, I've done it many times. Yeah. It's actually quite fun, even if you're not doing a play.
And what's the best advice someone has given you? Because you've given advice to the young actor.
Best advice. Well, one of the best pieces of advice I was given the last time I did a play, actually. So you're never too old to learn something. I was playing a role. He was a very, very violent man, very unpleasant. And this is an example of when a pause really can work, is that there was a scene where I come to collect money. I'm a gangster. I come to collect money from this guy, and I've already established myself in the play as a very violent individual. I cut his face open, I headbutt him, I kick him. I mean, it's terrible. And he goes off to get the money. And he's off stage for about a minute, maybe a tiny bit over. And the temptation as an actor, so the audience were there, and I was on a sofa. The temptation as an actor is always to be doing something, always to be moving. Even if it's just, like shifting in your seat, or glancing over there, or looking up, or doing something with a ring on your finger, just something. You feel like you have to be busy doing things. And the director said to me, do nothing. Stay completely still and just stare at the audience. And I won't do it now because, it's a minute. But all I did was I stared into the audience for a full minute before he came back. I didn't move a muscle, I just stared like that. And it becomes extremely intimidating.
Yeah, it's quite unsettling.
It's very unsettling. And the way he described it was that my character was like a machine that is resting.
Yeah.
And that when somebody enters the room, the machine starts up again.
Yeah.
But when he's alone, he doesn't move.
Yeah.
And that was a great piece of direction. He also taught me, I've just done it sadly, don't point.
Yeah.
Don't point. If you point, it weakens you, especially if you're playing a powerful character.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah.
Just say the line. Don't shout. Don't shout. Unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah. Because you have played heroes and villains.
Yes.
So what's the process of you getting into a character? How do you?
I don't really see them as difficult characters. They're all just, they're all people. Like everybody here is filled with complications, and there are things that might be happening in your life that you've put to the back of your mind because you don't want to think about them right now, and then will surface again when you're alone. And so we all have layers to ourselves, and it's what we choose to expose at any moment to somebody. So I'm being, like I am now, because I'm interested in talking to you. This is fun, all the rest of it. And so you try and just be in the moment as much as possible, and don't bring with you too much of sort of forethought and planning. So it's a bit like how I said to you, it's important to listen. If you listen to what somebody's saying, your reaction is natural.
Yeah.
And so if somebody is threatening to kill you in a character, even though it's a fiction, there is enough in what they're doing that you feel threatened, and that you will react to that. So you don't need to think, I need to do this and that, and I better not do this. Just be in the moment and relax. Relaxation is one of the most important things for an actor, is to be able to relax, because tension makes an audience tense, and you don't want unless you want them to be tense. You don't want that. You want them to be relaxed. You want them to. It's like if I go and see a play or a TV show, and a good actor comes on, you immediately just go, "Oh, great, okay, this is good, I'm fine." But if somebody comes on, and you can see they're unrelaxed, or if you can see that they're pushing, they're trying to do something, you're sitting there and you're like, it's like watching. I used to watch ice skating with my mother, and if you've ever watched professional ice skating, it can be very nerve-wracking because you're always worried they're going to fall over. You know, it's true. Even if they're really, really good. But when you watch an ice skater who you just know is never going to fall over, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like art. And you sit there and you just go, wow, that's so great. But if they come on and they look like they're going to fall over, you're like, oh no, they're going to fall over.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like that.
All right. Well, the final question.
Yeah.
When you look back at your long career.
Oh my God.
I mean, you did it all in a
Yeah,
year.
I know.
honestly,
No, you're right, of course.
Yeah.
I am what I am, yeah.
Yeah. What is the one thing that you're most proud of achieving?
Oh, gosh. Wow. Well, a couple of things spring to mind. One was a play that I actually wrote, and I'll mangle the pronunciation of his name, and he is Dutch. I wrote a play about, we say Vincent van Gogh. Did you say Vincent van Gogh?
Yeah. Van Gogh.
Yes, Gogh. Right, very difficult for English people to say. Anyway, I wrote a play about him with a friend of mine, based on the letters between Vincent and Theo. And we toured that. We did that at the National Gallery in London. I was about 25. And we ended up touring it all over the world, you know, for a period of time. We did it many times. And I was very proud of that, and so was my friend. And the other thing, I guess, that more recently that I've been very proud of is doing Men in Kilts with Sam and writing the book. So I wanted to be a writer when I started, and when I had the opportunity to write, to do Clanlands, and when we did Men in Kilts together, I think both of us would cite that as something that we're very, very proud of. It was a very enjoyable experience, and it was created from nothing. You know, we just came up with it, and it wasn't scripted. Nothing was scripted. We would turn up and just talk to people, and I like the spontaneity of it. So those are two things I would say.
Amazing.
And my children, of course.
Of course.
I have to say that, don't I?
Well, thank you so much for talking to us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Absolutely.
I wish we could have talked more, because I have more questions.
Oh no, I'm sure. I know. Sometimes
up.
I just talk for
No, it's fine.
ages
I
about
love it.
one thing.
I prefer someone
rather than
talking
just going yes and no.
Yeah, and then I feel like, oh no, I don't know what to say.
I need to get more questions.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. That's a pleasure.
Yeah, and
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Yeah.